he would set his alarm. He would, oh my god, he would set his alarm 3 hours before he was actually supposed to get up, and then snooze. And guess who would wake up? I would wake up. I would always wake up. Hey Syndicates, welcome back to my channel. Today I'm going to be doing an editorial version of my avant-garde look based on oil paintings, which actually started off as a 30-minute challenge. I haven't done a 30-minute challenge in a while. If you do want me to do a 30-minute challenge live on YouTube, then comment below and let me know. So the look that I'm talking about is this one, and honestly, I don't really like it. I mean, 30 minutes, it's a very, very short amount of time, and I went in with absolutely no plan. I just had kind of like the interest of like texture in oil paintings that I really wanted to apply to my face, but I had a very different image in my head than what I actually created. This look was requested by somebody, which I don't remember the name, but I was very interested in the fact that someone was even interested in the look in the first place, since I just didn't really like it. I didn't even want to post it, but here we are. I also would like to take today to talk about my experience being quarantined as newlyweds. Me and my husband got married on January 28th in 2020, and then shortly afterwards we got locked into the same studio apartment, and I'm going to talk a little bit about my lovely, lovely life in the past year of being quarantined with my hubby wubby. First things first, before I go into my story time, I'm gonna just do my base off camera so we can focus on the eye area for today, and pew! And here's the base done. Okay, first things first, we're going to be going in with the eye area, and I'm gonna have to put on some sort of like a primer. So you can do this with like a light concealer. I would prefer a concealer that's literally 2 shades lighter, but for me, I happen to have white colors in my Makeup Forever palette. So this is the white that I'm gonna go with. What I'm gonna do is just take a brush, like so, and then dip it in. Like I said, you can use a concealer. This is just priming the canvas. And in the original oil painting look, it's very, very pigmented. I actually take all of the grease paints color, and I used a little spatula and spread it out like paste across my face. So let's go back to the year 2020. My husband and I were working for the same company. A little bit of context, we've actually been together for almost 5 years before we decided to get married. We got married end of January, both our families showed up, and we all had this like very tight-knit, like small city hall wedding, and we planned on having a bigger wedding later on. And this was just kind of like a cost-saving measure just to get the paperwork out as well. And then we had also been living together for 3 years before this already, so it wasn't like we just got married and then moved in at the same time. However, the pandemic definitely made things a lot more different than what I had imagined. First of all, you have all these images of after your wedding, you know, your husband carries through the threshold, the new bride into the house, but we've actually been living in that place for a year, and we hadn't really spent that much time there because we've been working all the time, and he's a software engineer and I was working as a full-time graphic designer, so neither of us really spent that much time in the apartment together. But as soon as the pandemic hit, both of us obviously had to start working from home remotely, and unfortunately, due to that, we were not able to find that much privacy. Our studio apartment was about 700 square feet, and then our living room area was separated into one side where we could watch TV, and then the other side was our pseudo office area where I could do photo shoots, kind of like a mini version of what I have right now, and he would sit right next to me in a desk. So if I was filming a YouTube video, he would literally be sitting like right next to me or in front of me, and that didn't provide me with that much privacy. And he has a mechanical keyboard because he's a gamer, so you would hear all the clicky sounds. And normally during the week we're working, so I'm not filming, and when I come home I'll film and then he'll probably do something else, and we'll kind of alternate that space. It got really, really hectic because when I started filming more, since I had the opportunity to be at home, he was always gaming at the same time, so his mechanical keyboard would be like clack, 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 clack. And at first I'd say, okay, if you go on a grocery run, I'll film a YouTube video within 30 minutes, and then once you get back, I'll be done, right? And sometimes he'll text me to warn me, hey, I'm on my way home, and I'll say, just take a block and then come back beforehand because I was like 5 minutes away and I was about to do my outro. So I was just really stressed on having like privacy to myself. Being quarantined with your new husband is not that bad if you've been living together for a while. So we're really good at communicating. We really understand each other in terms of like living styles. We're very similar. The biggest issue that arose first for us was cooking all the time at home because we were used to always eating out and only having dinner at home separately. We were not the type of couple to eat together all the time because he preferred eating at like 9 o'clock at night and I preferred eating at 6 o'clock as soon as I got home because I was really hungry. So before I move on, let's go into the eyeshadow. For the eyeshadow, I'm actually going to be using my fingers instead of a brush because I want a more like raw finger painting effect. I'll start off with the NYX Professional Makeup Ultimate Shadow Palette in Brights. I love this because it's a mini palette, it's very succinct, and it kind of matches the Makeup Forever palette hues. I will be mostly covering up everything that I'm going to be doing as a base with this for texture and then powdering at the very end. But the reason I want to use this is because I don't want any white at the bottom showing anymore, and the powder is going to allow me to give this more full, more pigmented effect. First thing I will do is always start with the lightest color, and that will be the yellow. So I'll take the yellow with my middle finger and I'll just brush it like so. Boom. To get rid of any of the powders, I will take like a very fluffy brush and just brush underneath the eye. Then I'll do the same thing for the other eye to kind of have some sort of symmetry. I'll just go around and take other colors. The reason going darker is easier is because as we use the same finger, we can build on top, as opposed to if you start off with a dark color at the base and then you try to put yellow on top, the powders will mix and the bottom color will overpower the one on top. And where's some green? It's good to be kind of rough with this. Dark green. I'm actually just using the same finger. I'm not really going in with like a very refined approach because the oil painting kind of had the same feeling. Because I have a darker color on my finger now, it's gonna eventually mix up with any of the other hues, so I'm gonna use another finger. Very nice and pigmented. And then go in with a darker color. Then another blue up here. I'm gonna move into the inner corner of my eye. And then dark purple. Then there's still some areas over here that I can add. There we go. I'm gonna use the excess and just go in with the bottom. So far, this is how it looks. I'm gonna fix up the bottom by using another tiny little brush and just adding more detail. Brush off the excess. And now what I want to do is I want to get rid of the little bit of, powder here. I'm actually going to take my concealer, and for the concealer I'm using e.l.f. Hydrating Camo Concealer Satin Finish in the color of light beige. Popping that under here, and then going with the Beauty Blender to blend it out. Now that we kind of have the base done, let's go into the food debacle. When we were first quarantined together, we had a deal where we would decide to, spend a little less money and just cook for ourselves. If I cook, because I found it easier to cook for 2 people, and I also thought that doing dishes was like the bane of my life. Well, he didn't mind doing the dishes, but he absolutely hated cooking. But the issue started becoming the fact that I would have to cook because we were hungry, and he would wait till before the next meal, quote unquote, for him to do the dishes. While as in the beginning, he was doing the dishes immediately after we ate, so we had clean dishes in the morning. So I think I believe that our surroundings are kind of like a reflection of our state of mind. In the beginning of quarantine, we had our shit together. We had a plan, we weren't spiraling, we didn't want to have hysteria about the situation, and we were in a really good place where we lived in a great apartment and we got to spend time together. We were working remotely and safely, and we still lived in an area with a lower population, I guess, so that we could take walks around the block without running into anyone, really. But even though we had lived together and we were really good at communicating, there's obviously going to be some tension because there's stress from work, stress from the fact that we are living during a very unprecedented time. It's like the thing that like made me crack was when I realized that he really wasn't holding up his end of the deal. And I'm like, dude, we like had a deal. You were going to do the dishes because I was cooking. I don't get to have a say in when we get hungry. So I have to cook regardless of whether or not I'm tired or if I want to do it, not want to do it. While as when we're done eating, you seem to be like, okay, I'll just do the dishes the next day because I'm tired. I'm like, well, if I said that, then we wouldn't have any food to eat that night. It was no longer fun to eat together. I was like, look, just don't expect me to cook for you. If I do cook for us, I will tell you that I'm gonna make dinner. Even as simple as like figuring out what to order on the apps like DoorDash, Uber Eats, or Grubhub, whatever. We would argue all the time. We started off as like best friends becoming roommates, which is exactly what we wanted. Everything was like teamwork, to having completely being on separate pages. We were spending way too much time together. We wanted to bring each other at the throats, and there was just very petty little arguments of like who took out the trash, like whose turn is it to order food, or I want to go take a walk around the block by myself, and the other person being like, no, aka me. I'd be like, why would you not want to take a walk with me? I want to take a walk around the block too. And also during that time, there was definitely like a rise in like hate crimes against Asians in the US especially. So I was kind of scared to walk outside by myself, and James is a big Caucasian man, like that's 6 foot tall. So I kind of had him as a protector. So I would walk around with a mask, and during that time also people weren't really sure about wearing masks, but I was super protective. And when I go outside and I was wearing a mask and other people weren't wearing a mask, it wasn't like I was being good, which is kind of the reality right now. It was more like, oh, she's wearing a mask, like she must be sick. So I just felt like people watching me, and I kind of was very scared, honestly, to be outside by myself, and I kind of relied on him a little bit to be my security guard, which, I mean, it just sucked. So instead I stayed inside as much as possible. The external stress started to really build up within our relationship. And before I go into the next part of the story, I will go into the eye area for grease paint time, which is going to enhance this look with texture. So that's what this is for. I'm gonna start with yellow. So I got yellow, and then I had yellow here, so I'm gonna do that, and it's very, very bright. But as you can see, it's smudgeroony. It's not going to just like dry and set by itself unless we powder afterwards. So without kind of like pressing into it too much, I'm dragging the paint a little bit. Then I'm going to take the next color, which is going to be this teal, and adding another color right here. I'm going to blink to make sure that it doesn't crease, and if it does, then I'll go in again. And I don't want the colors to touch or overlap too much. Go in with the green. I have a coral here. I'm gonna use this. Then I'm gonna go in with the pink. It's more like fuchsia or magenta. Let's go here. Boop, dark blue. Then red at the end. Got all my primary colors at the end. So I'm gonna add gold right here as a wing, gold at the front. It's messy, but it's a controlled mess. And it's okay to go into the eyebrow. Okay, now that I have kind of got completely covered my eyebrows, which I think was the better decision because it makes this look way more editorial, kind of look like a bird. I was really careful not to brush and mix the paints together as I layered them on. And so if you look at my napkin right now, the napkin and my face kind of match because I was trying to make sure that even with one brush, I could keep the colors a little bit more separated. So now I need to powder to make sure that I set this in place. The colors are really, really important, staying pigmented, but if I keep it like this, I'm gonna start seeing creasing as I blink because I have a double eyelid / tapered eyelid crease. What I need to powder is my Colorless Luxury Powder from M.A.C and my little beauty blender. Generally, I like to put my powder on either a napkin, so I actually just folded the dirty napkin inside out so that I could just put the powder on top of here and just dip it with my beauty blender. This is how much powder I'm putting on my beauty blender. I'm gonna press it from the outside inwards. So I continuously add more and more powder. And I only press once. And this just makes sure I keep the colors completely separate. So now that I've powdered it, you just brush it off with a fluffy brush. What it's gonna do is mattify it a little bit because of the fact that the powder is setting it and drying it out. But you can still see the gold and all the colors, but now if you touch it, it won't smudge anymore. I'm gonna do the other side now. Now brush it right off. Ta-da! Now it's set. You can do a quick test. Make sure your hands are dry first. Touch it. Nothing should come off. Now that we've powdered and have set my makeup properly, I'm gonna get you guys behind the scenes of what happened when James and I both lost our jobs at the same time. But basically, I was on a visa that was expiring on a certain date in the summer, and I knew that date was coming, and I knew that I was going to take a small vacation afterwards, so I didn't use any of my vacation time beforehand. I just continuously worked and pummeled through as much design that I could before I left, and we had a good pie party and everything. So the next day I slept in for the first time in months, and of course I wake up to bad news. I woke up and James was in bed with me, and he had snuggled up to my arms, and he's not that affectionate when it comes to cuddling and stuff. That's my love language, physical touch and quality time. So I was weirded out because this guy is, you know, kind of cuddling up to me like a puppy. And I was like, something's wrong. So he goes, "Hey, you awake?" I'm like, "Yeah, I am. What's up? Why are you not at work?" And he goes, "I just got laid off." This sent me into full-on panic mode because yes, we had saved up, but we had only been working for like a year because I had graduated from my master's and he had just graduated from his bachelor's. So with less than a year of work for him and about a year of work for me, we had some money saved up, but not long enough to withstand a pandemic. And so I was thinking about financially, what are we gonna do? And I was supposed to go on vacation. That's why I worked myself to immediate burnout. I had relied on him to kind of, you know, take over the finances a little bit. Like I had savings, so it wouldn't have been so much pressure on him, but having one person within the couple to have a steady source of income was very, very helpful, which was kind of what I did when he didn't have a job in the beginning. I paid like for 3 months of rent by myself, and he was kind of gonna do the same thing for me. So at that point, I couldn't even work legally yet. I was in the process of waiting for the next step for my visa stuff. So with that happening, I was in no position to really help, and he, having just gotten laid off, obviously was really startled, and we both kind of fell into a pit of depression together. I spent a week drinking White Claws and playing Luigi's Mansion to completion, from waking up at like 1 p.m. all the way till 3 a.m. at night. Like that was the worst of it. That's how burnt out I was mentally. I was so drained. With James, he gamed also, but I think both of us at a certain point just felt really frustrated about staying inside, and so we decided to just sit down practically after a week and figure out what to do from then. And for me, it was, how much money do I need to save up, and how long can we live at this apartment for before we have to move out somewhere else? And also, our lease was ending soon, so we were gonna go pay month to month on the premium, which means we were paying almost $300 extra every single month while we were draining the bank accounts with no new job. Immediately, I was helping him try to find a job and get him back on the job search, but it's very, very difficult to do that while you're in the middle of a panorama and everybody was getting laid off at the same time. We didn't want to settle for like a bar job or something because with COVID happening, we didn't want to put that risk out there. So it's not like I could have just gone and like become a barista just to get some part-time income. Our families were definitely very supportive, and they said if we needed any help that they would help us out, which I was really blessed to hear and have that support. But I obviously, with both of us just starting our lives together, we didn't want to put that pressure, and we didn't want to ask our parental units for any help at all. And I think that's just us part being stubborn, but also wanting to prove that we could get out of this obstacle together and come out stronger. So I eventually did get my authorization to work again, which was awesome. So during the month that I wasn't allowed to work, I was pouring myself into just content creation. I was like, if there's nothing else to do, I'm going to do what I do best, and it's to channel my emotions into art. And nothing was monetized, obviously. Everything was just purely out of the love of art and needing to relieve stress in a way that didn't involve going outside. And I set up makeup challenges for my followers and my community so that I could also help them stay inside, be quarantined, and be constantly pushed to be creative. I did my best to stay very positive, and I think fake it till you make it, right? I started getting really, really inspired by other things around me online. I was creating every single day for 2 weeks, and that's kind of when my TikTok started to blow up and I was gaining a crap ton of followers. I made a huge career pivoting decision that led me to where I am right now. On that note, I will continue with my makeup, and right now I want to go put on my eyelashes so we can kind of give this look more pizzazz. So I have my colored lashes from Neshai Lashes, and I'm probably just gonna pick a color because I have so many colors in my eyes, but I'm just gonna pick one that is kind of prominent. This one could work. No, I have green and blue at the bottom. This one might work really well. Okay, we're gonna go with green eyelashes. It's got green and yellow eyelashes together. I'm actually gonna put the glue directly on my lash line, like so. I prefer doing this because I can actually pinpoint the location and feel it drying. Wait till it gets tacky a little bit before putting this on. So slowly but surely, as I moved into my new career, which was to invest in a coaching program which taught me how to become a beauty influencer coach, or just a new coach in general, essentially packaging up the knowledge of becoming a beauty influencer and creating a one-on-one coaching program. It made me a businesswoman, which is what I've always wanted to be, my own boss, but also be an artist. And at the same time, James found a job not too long afterwards, and we were slowly kind of getting back on our feet. We were taking regular walks, we were spending more time together, we had wine at night, and I think we started re-enjoying our presence together. I will say one of the things that continuously bothered me, because we had completely different schedules now, with me working my own business, working really late hours, and then him working a corporate job, was the fact that he would set his alarm. He would set his alarm 3 hours or 2 hours before he was actually supposed to get up, and snooze the until oblivion. And guess who would wake up? I would wake up. I would always wake up. Okay, my glue is tacky, so I'm gonna put my eyelashes on. Now taking my M.A.C Extra Dimension Foil Eyeshadow in the color Cooler Than Being Cool. I'm gonna use my finger again. I'm gonna add some shimmer to my cheekbones, my nose, my bridge of my nose, up here in the place that I don't know how to identify, my cupid's bow, and my chin. And then with the Flair for the Dramatic Extra Dimension SkinFinish, also by M.A.C, I'm gonna use it as my bronzer highlighter. So we're dipping right into it and going right into my cheeks. As a final touch, I'm gonna use the e.l.f. Jelly Pop Juicy Gloss and adding some gloss to my lips. And this is the final look. All in all, I will will say that being quarantined as newlyweds wasn't as painful as I thought it was going to be. It's all about learning how to communicate with each other and our needs, our worries, our fears, and also doing our best not to take our stress from work and external pressures home and taking it out onto the other person. But I don't regret it one bit. We've definitely formed such a great trust with each other, and 1 year has passed since we've gotten married. We've finally moved to a new apartment that is much bigger. We have a 2-bedroom apartment now, so that means even though we are still technically working right next to each other at home, I have a door separation where I can do my work in here, and he will be in the living room, where that whole living room is basically his office now. I would love to know what struggles you overcame with your significant other or whoever you were with during the quarantine and how you've been dealing with that. Things are definitely starting to look up in 2021, so thanks for listening, thanks for watching, and if you like this video, please give it a thumbs up and hit the subscribe button as well as the notification bell so that you are notified every time I post a new video with more story times, more makeup challenges, more content growth tips, and editing, lighting, photography tutorials. As usual, stay creative, and I will see you in the next one. Bye! That's a very, very intense eyelashes. What's up? What's up?